Right now, as you watch this, there is something happening inside your skull that you cannot feel. It is subtle, it is gradual. And by the time most people notice, the change has already taken root. You are outsourcing your mind, not to a colleague, not to a book, to an algorithm. And the psychological consequences are far more serious than anyone is talking about. In 2011, a psychologist named Betsy Sparrow published a study at Columbia University that quietly shook the foundations of cognitive science. She found that when people knew they could look something up on Google, their brains literally stopped trying to remember it. The information was not forgotten. It was never encoded in the first place. She called it the Google effect. Your brain, in its ruthless efficiency, decided that if a search engine could hold the answer, there was no reason to waste precious neural resources storing it internally. At the time, this seemed almost charming, a quirk of the digital age. But what Sparrow uncovered was the first documented case of technology altering the architecture of human memory in real time. The takeaway is uncomfortable but important. Your brain does not distinguish between tools and extensions of itself. When you use a tool long enough, your brain treats it as part of your cognitive system and quietly shuts down the internal version. Psychologists have a term for what happens when you let an external tool do your thinking. They call it cognitive offloading, and in small doses, it is one of humanity's greatest strengths. Writing things down, using calendars, drawing diagrams, these are all forms of offloading that free up mental bandwidth for higher-order thinking. But there is a threshold. And AI has pushed us past it. A 2024 study published in Nature Human Behavior found that participants who regularly used AI assistants for problem-solving showed measurable declines in independent analytical thinking within just 4 weeks. Not 4 years, 4 weeks. The mechanism is deceptively simple. Every time you ask an AI to summarize an article instead of reading it, to draft an email instead of composing it, to make a decision instead of weighing it, you are sending a signal to your brain. That signal says, this cognitive function is no longer needed, and your brain listens. It always listens. The practical lesson here is not to abandon AI. It is to recognize that every act of offloading is also an act of atrophy, and to choose deliberately which mental muscles you are willing to let weaken. Here is where the psychology gets dark. Social media created dependency through dopamine, the unpredictable reward of likes, comments, notifications. AI creates dependency through something even more powerful, the reduction of cognitive friction. Thinking is hard, genuinely hard. Your brain burns roughly 20% of your total caloric intake despite being only 2% of your body mass. Deep thinking, problem-solving, creative synthesis, these are metabolically expensive processes. Your brain is biologically motivated to avoid them whenever possible. AI offers the perfect escape. Why struggle through a complex analysis when you can paste it into a chat window? Why sit with the discomfort of not knowing when an answer is 10 seconds away? A 2025 study from Stanford's Human-Centered AI Institute tracked the cognitive habits of 1,200 knowledge workers over 6 months. Those who adopted AI tools most enthusiastically showed a pattern researchers describe as a cognitive dependency spiral. The more they offloaded, the less confident they became in their own thinking. The less confident they became, the more they offloaded. A feedback loop with no natural exit point. This is not a technology problem. It is a psychology problem. Your brain is doing exactly what evolution designed it to do: conserve energy. The AI is simply making that conservation dangerously easy. The takeaway: notice when you reach for AI out of laziness rather than strategy. That moment of friction, the slight discomfort of having to think, is not a bug. It is your brain's workout. Skip it often enough, and the mental muscle disappears. There is a layer beneath memory loss and cognitive laziness that researchers are only beginning to understand. It concerns your ability to pay attention, not to screens, but to your own thoughts. Sustained attention, the capacity to hold a single complex idea in your mind, turn it over, examine it from multiple angles, is one of the most sophisticated capabilities the human brain possesses. It is the foundation of insight, creativity, and genuine understanding. And it is eroding. A 2024 meta-analysis published in Psychological Bulletin examined 47 studies on digital tool usage and attentional capacity. The conclusion was unambiguous. Heavy reliance on AI-assisted decision-making correlated with reduced capacity for sustained, self-directed thought. The distinction matters enormously. When you read a book, your brain is not just absorbing information. It is building connections, making inferences, generating questions, and constructing mental models. When an AI summarizes that book for you, you get the information, but none of the cognitive architecture that comes from wrestling with it yourself. Think of it like the difference between watching someone lift weights and lifting them yourself. The knowledge of what happened is there, the strength is not. The practical step here is deliberately uncomfortable. Pick one complex task per day that you refuse to offload. Read the full article, write the first draft yourself, sit with a problem for 30 minutes before reaching for help. Treat your attention like the scarce, trainable resource it is. Here is the part most people miss, and it is the most important. Your brain is not static. It rewires itself constantly based on how you use it. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity, and it is both the threat and the solution. The threat is real. When you repeatedly offload cognitive tasks to AI, your brain physically restructures itself to accommodate that pattern. Neural pathways associated with independent thinking, deep reading, and creative problem-solving weaken. Pathways associated with tool-mediated thinking strengthen. You become, quite literally, a different thinker. But the same mechanism works in reverse. Every time you choose to think deeply, to struggle with a problem, to resist the easy answer, you are strengthening the neural pathways that make you capable of independent thought. A 2025 longitudinal study from the Max Planck Institute found that participants who practiced deliberate cognitive engagement, intentionally solving problems without AI assistance for just 30 minutes per day, showed measurable improvements in working memory and creative problem solving within 8 weeks. The takeaway is empowering. You are not a passive victim of technological change. Your brain is waiting to be shaped, but it will be shaped by your habits or by your defaults. The choice right now is still yours. There is a version of the future where AI makes us collectively sharper, more creative, more capable than we have ever been. And there is a version where it makes us dependent, fragile, and mentally diminished. The difference between those futures is not the technology. It is the psychology, your psychology. How you choose to use these tools, when you choose to put them down, and whether you have the awareness to notice what is happening inside your own mind before the rewiring is complete. The most powerful technology in existence is not artificial intelligence. It is the 3-pound organ sitting between your ears. Treat it accordingly.